Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Tom Did It channel. Ahead of the top end rebuild, I decided to check the condition of the reed valve assembly and the two-stroke oil pump. And it was a really good job that I did. Both were very dirty, to the point where they would not have functioned properly and probably would have caused damage to the engine. I have left the video timestamps in the description below. Basically, I work on the reed valve assembly for about 7 minutes and then spend the remainder of the video servicing the two-stroke oil pump in great detail. Now we've got the intro out of the way, I'll stop talking and let you enjoy the video. So as you can see, the reeds are extremely dirty. The bottom reed is actually worse than the top, and you'll see this in a minute. This suggests that the air filter was poorly maintained and dirt particles were finding their way into the engine. There are 6 of these small screws that hold the reeds and the reed stopper in place. Combined with the fact that these screws are on the inside of the engine and subject to fast moving air and vibration, I strongly suggest the use of Loctite or some sort of thread locker to keep these in place. If one of these screws were to fall out or vibrate loose, it would almost certainly damage the engine. Although the reeds were dirty, they were not badly worn or damaged, and there were no gaps around the reed cage. I'm confident these will work fine. So in my box of spares, I found another 2-stroke pump shaft. At this stage I'm thinking that I should test the function of the 2-stroke pump as well as clean it. You'll notice I'm figuring this stuff out as I go along. So stick around for the madness. So we've just finished cleaning up the 2-stroke oil pump, and before putting it back I just want to make sure that firstly the pump actually works, but secondly I'm not going to cause any damage by installing the pump back onto the loose oil drive shaft. What I'm going to start with doing is rotating the engine in the way that the engine would normally rotate by turning the flywheel, and then I need to confirm which way this thread goes. So it seems that as I'm turning the engine now, the two-stroke oil pump shaft is turning in a clockwise rotation. So that would mean, if I can show you on the other drive shaft that I have, as it's turning clockwise, that would mean that this thread here that sits inside of the oil pump would actually screw in to the oil pump. So if I can show you and spin it clockwise, that's stopped there. If I was to just turn it clockwise with no pressure, you can see that the drive shaft is screwing itself into the pump, and it's actually stopped now. That is right inside of the oil pump and can't go any further. Similarly, if I was to turn it anti-clockwise, you can see it undo itself. So it's designed in that way so that it doesn't unscrew itself. Let's take you over to the second engine that I have, just so I can see what I'm about to do before I do it. If I take the side engine cover off, you can see that there's a nylon gear in there. You can see that in the other engine. If I was to put the spare drive shaft into the engine, seems that's designed to work on there. And this is almost what we have at the moment as the loose drive shaft. Let's hold this and put it back on. Side of the engine case on. Now I can feel that this won't drop inside of the engine. So let's find out what that's hitting on the other side. If I can hold that. Bugger. I think seems to be touching this. So the back of the drive shaft, it seems, is touching that, and it won't go any further. So now if I just rest the drive shaft in there and put the side of the engine case on, let's do a trial run with the oil pump and see how it fits onto the other nylon gears. What I'd better do, of course, is use some gear oil. On the O-ring. Just before putting it into the engine dry. Okay, now that's seated. Let's put the screws in just so that it holds in place, and then we can see where the actual drive shaft is in comparison with the other nylon gear that it's supposed to work with. So that's not tight, but it's just pinched in place. Let's take the engine cover off and take a look this side. It's actually sat on the smaller gears as it should quite well. So that shows you that the back of the oil pump shaft here sits on that pin, and that stops it dropping into the engine. So I'm quite confident if I was to do this on the engine I'm using, it would actually work. Of course, if I turn this anti-clockwise as we're looking at it, that would be clockwise in this position, and it may turn the oil pump shaft into the pump a little more. Let's watch that closely. So we're going anti-clockwise here. Yeah, and it's just gone in a slight bit more, and I can feel it. It's actually got a bit of tension, like it's spinning the pump inside. So I'm confident with that. Again, it's not the best way of doing this. I've got to suggest that to fit the two-stroke oil pump, you should really remove the engine cover, replace the gasket, and do it this way. But I'm not doing that on this occasion. Now I've established that the loose drive shaft in the engine should not be a problem, I'm ready to move on and check to see if the two-stroke pump actually works. I've used this similar method before on my Aprilia RS 125. Stay tuned. So good news, the pump appears to be working. In doing this, I'm also pushing out any remaining old oil, dirt and petrol used for cleaning. By keeping the drill at a constant speed, I was able to operate the pump arm and could see the flow rate increase and decrease. Similarly, I could also see the pump operate when the oil pump arm is in the low RPM idle position. It all seems to be working good. With the reed valve serviced and the clean pump now installed, it's time to wrap this video up. I'm making some final checks on the pump by rotating the engine. This will cause the pump shaft to screw into the pump and check that the nylon gears are not jammed. Of course, I'll pay close attention to the two-stroke delivery system when I eventually start the bike, just to check it's working correctly. So as I've said in the two previous videos, the next video will probably be the top end install. Thanks for watching the channel, and bye for now.